Good evening and thank you for joining us. We now have an answer to the question that millions of people in this province have been asking. Ontario is in fact delaying the return to school, but only by a couple of days. Students will be back in the classroom next Wednesday, 2 days later than they were scheduled to return. This comes as the province shatters its previous record for daily cases with 13,807 new infections. Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran explains what that extra 2 days will allow for in schools.
This will provide our schools with extra time to begin to put in place additional health and safety measures, including deploying additional masking options for students and educators and further improving air ventilation in schools.
Ontario will also provide 3,000 new HEPA filters for schools and N95 masks for staff. There are also big changes coming to COVID-19 testing across the province.
Beginning tomorrow, December 31st, publicly funded PCR testing will only be available for those vulnerable individuals, including those with significant medical issues who are symptomatic or at risk of severe disease from COVID-19, including for the purposes of confirming a COVID diagnosis prior to beginning treatments, and workers, residents, and others in the highest risk settings. Most individuals with a positive result from a rapid antigen test will no longer be required or encouraged to get a confirmatory PCR or rapid molecular test.
Additionally, the province will now only require fully vaccinated people who do test positive to isolate for 5 days if they've been symptom-free for 24 hours. Finally, fourth doses of the COVID-19 vaccine will be offered to older adults in long-term care homes and other congregate settings 3 months after their third dose. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting its highest single-day case count of the pandemic, with more than 100 new infections. And unfortunately, another person has died from COVID-19. It's the 70th COVID-related death in the district and the 4th this month. There are 102 new cases today. 100 of those are in the Thunder Bay area, while 2 come from other district communities. There are 26 household contacts and 27 close contacts from outside the home. 7 cases are related to travel outside of northwestern Ontario, and 42 exposure sources are still unknown at this time. 4 people remain in hospital with no new hospitalizations in today's numbers. There are now 312 active cases. That's the most since March 22nd. Over in the Northwestern Health Unit, there are 59 new infections today. 27 are in the Kenora Health Hub, 13 are from Sioux Lookout, 7 are in the Red Lake Hub, 6 come from Fort Francis, and there are 3 cases each in Atikokan and Dryden. There are 2 new hospitalizations, bringing the current total to 6, and there are now 259 active cases across the N.W.H.U. There is a sliver of good news here in Thunder Bay. However, the school outbreaks at St. Elizabeth and at Gorham and Ware are now over. Well, those daily case updates like the ones you just heard continue to grab the headlines, but the 2 medical officers of health in northwestern Ontario say there may soon be a shift away from that daily reporting. Both the Thunder Bay District and Northwestern Health Units have seen cases skyrocket in the last week. The Omicron variant is largely to blame with its increased transmissibility. Studies suggest, however, that this version of the virus is less severe for vaccinated people. Local health officials say there are good reasons to ditch the daily case reporting and focus on other criteria that are more indicative of how COVID-19 is affecting the communities.
Those numbers will not accurately reflect the true number of people with COVID-19 in our area. So I think we have to look at how we are reporting. Certainly one of the measures, it's a lagging indicator, but one of the measures of the burden though is hospitalization.
I don't think case numbers are the focus anymore. I think it is the focus is going to be more on the broader impact on the health and well-being of society, and also the impact on and the healthcare sector to function.
The province today did indicate that it will move away from case reporting and focus on hospitalizations and other key indicators. Other provinces intend to do the same. A new study from Public Health Ontario is comparing the severity of Omicron cases to the Delta variant. It finds Omicron's rapid transmissibility will lead to an increase in hospitalizations, despite that variant having a 54% lower hospitalization or death rate compared to Delta. The study also says Omicron appears to be the first dominant variant to show a decline in disease severity, but it warns the impact on the healthcare system is still likely to be significant. The Chief and Council for the Bearskin Lake First Nation have declared a lockdown and a state of emergency following an outbreak of COVID-19. Chief Lefty Cam says they now have 43 positive cases in a community of less than 400 people, and that number is expected to climb even higher. Cases began cropping up on Tuesday, involving all age groups, including vulnerable infants and elders. Bearskin Lake residents began receiving third-dose boosters in November, and children 5 to 11 began first doses in early December. Chief Cam says the situation is becoming more dire with the onset of the colder weather, and the remote community is seeking help in the form of supplies, extra nursing, firewood, and security staff.
Eventually run out of space to accommodate and to isolate the people that are positive. And there's nobody, we have absolutely no monitors to go and check. Nurses are busy, and there's people, they're running out of food. And people, I would say most of the households here in the community use wood stoves. So people need wood.
Officials from Indigenous Services Canada have been in contact with Bearskin Lake officials regarding the state of emergency and are working to provide support to the community. Police are ramping up the search for 24-year-old Abigail Fedorak after exhausting all leads since she was last seen late Monday night.
Very concerning part is she is a mother of a very young child, and she has not been in contact with her family, which is unusual. And that is why we're escalating even more.
Fedorak is described as a white female, roughly 5'2", with a thin build. She has light brown hair and hazel eyes. Police say the last sighting of her was in the 500 block of Prince Arthur Boulevard. Officers conducted a grid search of that area today, including Wiley and Finlayson streets. Police earlier recovered a piece of her property in that area, which was found by a member of the public.
We'll be asking homeowners to search their property as well. They're the best people. We know we've had some snowfall in the last day or two, so we're asking everybody to check their own property. If there's anything they see, learn, or anything that just appears to be somewhat suspicious, please let us know. We have detectives in the area as well, and the detectives will be happy to follow up on that right away.
Fedorak was last seen wearing running shoes, black pants, and a red and navy jacket. Anyone with information is asked to contact City Police or Crime Stoppers. There's been another transport crash at Sistonen's Corner. This latest collision happened sometime after 3 o'clock this afternoon, but fortunately there were no injuries. The crash scene was captured on video and in photos by a number of drivers at the intersection that's become notorious for the number of accidents there in recent months. An OPP spokesperson says one of the transports was turning left off of Highway 1117 onto Highway 102 when it was struck by another transport that apparently went through the stop sign. EMS were also on scene, but none of the occupants were hurt. Traffic was held up for about 3 hours as tow trucks worked to clear the scene. There's no word yet from the OPP on whether any charges have been laid. A special holiday event brought many smiles last night from foreign students attending college and university here in Thunder Bay. For the third year in a row, the not-for-profit group called Assisting International Students Together offered a welcome home dinner. It happened outside the Hub Bazaar. Jessica Clement has the story.
To help bridge the gap between international students and the Thunder Bay community, and to give a little extra cheer during the holiday season, the Board of Assisting International Students Together, with the help of the Hub Bazaar, hosted their third annual Welcome Home Dinner on Wednesday night. Around 100 prepackaged meals were handed out. The idea for the dinner came from the realization that most international students aren't able to go home and spend the holidays with their loved ones, and to help make Thunder Bay feel more like their home.
It's just a way to celebrate the hard work of international students after a hard semester of school and to celebrate community support towards international students in Thunder Bay.
It is letting our friends who are away from home, like international students or anyone away from home, making them feel like they're part of Thunder Bay, they belong here, and nothing better than celebrating holiday together.
Unfortunately, due to increasing COVID restrictions, international students had to pick up their meals outside instead of eating a meal together indoors. This wasn't a big hurdle, however, as students were lined up outside waiting for their tasty dinner with smiles on their faces. Over the past 3 years, these dinners have become more important, not only with helping international students feel more at home, but also with bringing the community together.
It's a fun and it's warming thing that we can have among with our friends, to share the the kind of food we got, and it's a lovely feeling.
What we hope we're doing is a little bit of hospitality and letting them know that we care, and we want to make that between Christmas and New Year's a little bit brighter.
With the struggles that international students have, especially at this time of year, it's nice to see this act of hospitality and generosity from the community of Thunder Bay. And hopefully Assist will be able to continue this act of generosity year after year. Jessa Clement, TVT News.
Well, the latest dumps of snow may have been tough on the joints and backs of those who've had to shovel it, but local snowmobilers are rejoicing as the groomed trails will start opening next week. For many, hopping on the sled and going for a ride along the hundreds of kilometers of groomed trails in the region is the best way to spend a day. But in order for that to happen, the 5 volunteers with Thunder Bay Adventure Trails first have to run the groomers. Adrian Tessier is the Snowmobile Club's groomer coordinator. He says they'll be heading out early tomorrow morning to get the trails ready and safe for snowmobilers by early next week. But he notes riders may encounter some issues on a few of the trails.
We have a couple longer trails that go down towards Gunflint Lake that may not get groomed every week, maybe once a month or twice a month, depending on weather conditions. But all the other trails get groomed every week. This year we're going to be hit, as we have been in the past, with some issues with logging for areas west of, anybody knows our trail system, west of Otto Lake Road, which is our A trail, leads towards Atikokan.
Tessier says the number of trail passes sold by the club since the beginning of the pandemic has doubled, which is a big help as the funds raised go toward trail maintenance, equipment, and supplies. The city of Thunder Bay has more than 58 ice surfaces for people to skate on in the winter months, and now there's one located at Vickers Park, which is very different from the traditional skating rinks. The brand new skating trail spans 250 meters in linear length around a section of Vickers Park. The idea was brought up last year, but is just now being implemented. The city modified one of its tanker trucks, similar to a Zamboni, to spread out the water to freeze in thin layers, allowing the trail to be maintained more easily. The city has posted signs showing which direction to skate, and benches are available to lace up at any time during daylight hours. Parks and Open Spaces manager Corey Halverson says it took longer to build up the ice surface due to the recent warmer weather and storms, but he's excited for people to finally try them out.
Getting to the point right now where we've had enough chance to put enough floods on it. We just flooded it now. The weather is, with the snow lately, we've been spending a lot of time with snow removal, so it's limited our flooding. So we're just now getting to the point where it can start to be used.
As for maintenance, the trail is expected to be reflooded every morning. Halverson says they'll be looking for community feedback for the skating trail throughout the winter so that next year they can make it better and potentially expand it as well. Well, Mitch, a good day out there for